going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. I am absolutely pumped for today's episode because what I'm going to show you today is actually a DIY sprout system. Now, this is something that you can retrofit to your own, needs based on size, consumption, space, things like that. And this is going to be a system that is going to allow you to grow food 365 days a year, regardless of what the weather is outside, regardless of, whatever's going on. This can actually grow you food because it does not need that much energy. So you don't need super powered lights like the ones we have here to grow our plants to full maturity. Although they could theoretically, you don't need that. And also, you can grow a ton of nutrient-dense food in a small space because what this is a microgreen station. Microgreen stations are something that I advocate to everyone because I personally think more people should be getting microgreens in their diet rather than full-grown greens. There's nothing wrong with full-grown greens other than they're not as nutrient-dense as their more immature counterparts. Microgreens can be up to 300% more nutrient dense than a full-grown mature plant. And this is just because as the plant grows, the amount of nutrients are spread throughout the plant, and you get a lot of water content rather than a lot of nutrient content. When plants are very young, they still have many of the nutrients left in the seed coating, which are which is basically a little nutrient-packed vitamin capsule for the plant to sustain itself on when it's sprouting. When it first sprouts, it has nutrients in it that won't be in it when it's an adult. These are things like vitamin K, vitamin E, obviously vitamin C, but you get B vitamins as well. You get just a whole host of essential fatty acids that are not found as predominantly in the adult form. So you get a really well-rounded green that can be used as salads. You can use it as to top sandwiches, wraps, soups, side garnishes. But I love adding it to salads because it just adds a flavor punch that you just don't get in your regular average everyday salad mix because the shelf life is so short. And that's what's really nice about this is that because the shelf life is so short, you're actually going to be able to come down here and harvest when you need it and be able to provide food for your family that moment. So I hope you guys are really going to enjoy this. So the framework for your microgreen and sprout station is going to be just a regular heavy-duty rack. Now, it does have to be wide enough to be able to attach your lights to. That was one of the problems with some of the racks that we had on hand was, I didn't want to have to go out and buy something if I didn't have to. I'd rather reuse something that I have just laying around that I'm not utilizing as much. And so I had some of those other smaller wire racks, and they just weren't wide enough to accommodate those grow lights over there. And so we had to go out and buy this, but this is really not that expensive. This is made by Muscle Rack. It's a very top-notch brand. It's really easy to put together for anyone with very minimal tools. This thing is not going anywhere. The next thing you're going to need are just some hanging equipment. I obviously chose this to fit my needs, but this is also just based on my current lights, which I'll get into. So I have just some wing nuts, some hanging chain, really simple stuff, and some S hooks, some S hooks that fell out of the box because I was making sure they would work. So this is really all you're going to need to get this thing started. It is very, very easy. The nice thing about microgreens is that you don't have to have the most powerful lights because even if they do get a little bit leggy, that actually helps you because slightly leggy seedlings allows you to harvest them much easier. So it can actually be a benefit if they're not the most powerful lights in the world. Now you do still need growable light. You can't do this with a regular light. You do need at least compact fluorescents, if not LEDs. It's just something that's very, very important. But by no means does this have to cost an arm and a leg. You can use basic shop lights as the very top rack. Actually, I'm utilizing the shop light going across our ceiling, our ceiling joists there. We have shop lights about every 4.5 feet or so, and so I just positioned the rack underneath one so that we could utilize that light coming off there to grow seedlings, and I wouldn't have to have a grow light to fill that void. So we have 5 levels. That's what's really cool about these two, is that 5 levels of growable space. Each spot here has 8 square feet times 5 levels. That's 40 square feet of growable space, and this rack here cost me I think like $45. So really inexpensive, and I got it from Walmart. So definitely go pick yourself up one. This is a great purchase for sure. So now let's talk about the grow lights themselves. These grow lights are a 2-bulb compact fluorescent fixture. These were actually given to me. These were donated to me by one of my neighbors, actually. She noticed that we had a pretty big garden, and she said, I've got a seedling. I actually have a seedling starting station that I bought from Grower Supply back in the early 2000s, and I'm no longer using it. I'm just getting a little too old to have this big of a setup, and I was wondering if you use it. And that's where I actually got the idea for this. It was like these lights here came with the system, but I really didn't need the whole big heavy system. I just didn't have room for it, and so I just basically used these lights, put them on the racks here, because the system that it came in was really oversized and not as efficient as one of these racks. So all we're going to do is just attach these to the rack here, and then we can actually daisy chain them together, because each one has actually has a daisy chain plug and a power outlet, and they all are individually operated with a power switch. The wing nut keeps it from spinning, since there's only one point of contact. It has a tendency to sway back and forth if it's slightly off balance. This just helps to kind of lock it in. All right, let's plug her in and see how it looks. So this looks incredible. I am really excited to get this thing growing. The final thing that we're going to simply do is just put in place our sprout bins. It's amazing how much space you can actually grow. I mean, with like I said, over 40 square feet of growing space, it's definitely something that is going to be a huge benefit to us. And not only that, but I wanted to also point out that this could actually be a potential business opportunity for you if you have a market in your area for sprouts and microgreens. Microgreens are a very hot commodity because they're so nutrient dense, because they're so flavorful, and because they're becoming so sought after in the food industry. It's something that can't be done on a really large scale and still have the quality component to it. So there are a lot of restaurants that will source out tiny guys, and I know of like 2 right off the top of my head that I could go to and say, hey, look, I can provide you a flat of microgreens. I'll basically give you the tray full, and you clip them, and when it's done, I'll pick up the tray and I'll bring you a new one. And you could say like a tray of this size, depending on what you're growing. Something like radish microgreens could bring between probably maybe $5 and $10, maybe more, about maybe $5 and $10 conservatively, and so that's a really good investment for you're gonna get let's see here, 4 trays, I think. So you're getting 4 trays per level times 5. That's 20 trays, If each tray is, let's say, $10, that's $200. And the nice thing about microgreens is they have a very fast turnaround time. You're allowing the plant to grow its cotyledon leaves and then its first or maybe second set of true leaves. So you're really not leaving them in that long. It's about a week turnaround time for most things. And so if you're eating them for yourself, which I recommend, you're going to be getting nutrient-dense food very quickly, faster than anything else you can be growing. And if you're in it for the business, you can essentially sell one of these levels every day, Monday through Friday. And if you got it timed out right, you could really make this a pretty viable business with just one setup. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you learned something new. As always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to give this video a huge thumb up if you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. And also, make sure to stay tuned because we're going to be planting this out. We're going to be getting these trays growing. And I'm going to show you all the basics to growing microgreens. This is going to be the beginning of our microgreen series. And so it's going to be a lot of fun to show you guys the possibilities with microgreens, some recipes with microgreens, and just some different how-tos and tutorials around it. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow big or go home. And we'll catch you all later. See ya. Bye.